Hello guys, it's Dan from Dynamic Details again. So we're here for part 2 on the Golf. Today we've got the engine crane out. So that one means one thing, the engine's coming out. Well, hopefully. We're going to try and get it out today. So first of all, we need to take the carbs off and then take all the coolant out. Make sure the wiring is all loose, and then the plan is I'm going to drop the engine downwards and lift the car upwards. That's the plan. So that's how I got it in, so it should work the other way around, let's hope. So yeah, and if you didn't watch the other video, the reason I'm getting it out is because the drive shafts keep snapping, and the reason they keep snapping is because the engine is out of alignment. So basically where the engine mounts are, it's slightly to one side. Like there's an engine mount, and there's an engine mount, and I can't remember which way it is slightly over, but it's either slightly that way or slightly that way. Basically, when it's airing out, the drive shaft isn't got enough travel and it's compressing, and then that's when the CV joint just goes. So that's the reason. So that is, I think it's that one that's slightly bent or something. I was told by someone that had a look over it with me. So yeah, I've just got to get it out today. While it's out, I'm checking out the clutch because it doesn't feel quite right. So while it's out, I might as well take the gearbox off of the actual block itself and then see what is going on with the clutch. So let's start off with taking the carbs off. And then we're going to take the coolant out and then take the wiring off. And then hopefully it comes out. Taking the coolant out first because I can't get to this fuel line there to loosen that Jubilee because that pipe's in the way. So I'm going to remove that, then we can get to that to remove that, and then we can take the carbs off. So first thing we're going to do is drain the coolant. So if we just have a look how much is in there, and we'll take the lid off anyway so it doesn't get an airlock. There's a little, well, yeah, there's a fair bit in there. Yeah, it does have a coolant leak as well. That's why I'm going to be checking all of that. So it needs to be drained anyway. So let's drain it from the lowest point, which is down there, right down there. So we're going to get down to there, lift it up, and then get coolant all over us. So as you can see, there is a coolant leak. That's another good reason I want to take the engine out, because I want to see exactly where that's coming from. I believe it's the water pump, which I don't understand why, because it's a new water pump, but that's where it seems to be coming from. So we're going to remove this Jubilee here and hopefully drain all the coolant out. Remember, when you drain coolant, take the cap off where you fill it up, otherwise it can create a vacuum and it won't all come out. So yeah, let's undo that and get the coolant out. So I've got my 7mm and my wet vac ready. So let's just undo this Jubilee first. Wear gloves, otherwise you'll get very sticky hands. No one likes sticky hands. So let's get a wet vac on. As you can see, that didn't go quite to plan. My genius idea failed me. So let's wet all that up off my lovely flipping floor, and hopefully it don't get too sticky. Right, so now we've drained it from the lowest end, and I can see there's nothing in the radiator. Let's remove this pipe here so we can get to the fuel line going to the carbs. Go, that's that one off. So we're going to put that all together so we know that goes with that. Let's take this little elbow off. Right, that's one fuel line off. Technically the carbs will now be free. I'm going to remove the spark plug, sorry. Not the spark plug, the HT leads, I should say. By the way, I am not a trained mechanic. I've learned everything I'm doing from friends, from YouTube, and from just making mistakes. Sometimes mistakes are the best way to learn, but they can be obviously costly. But it's all part of the game, building your own car. But I enjoy it, so that's the main thing, I suppose. So the carbs are only joined on with these silicone hoses onto this custom intake manifold. So that's made by Bog Brothers, I believe they're called. And then, yeah, so all I've got to do is undo these Jubilee clips that are holding these on, and they should just pop off. Obviously I've got to remove the throttle cable, but to be honest, it's easier to take them off, flip it upside down with obviously a cloth on your rocker cover, and then you should just be able to take them off. See if that goes to plan. So that is them off. I've just got to take the throttle cable off now, which is located in here, which is probably one of the biggest pain in the arses thing to do. It took me hours to put it on. It takes minutes to take off, but to put it on is another matter, which you'll see in a later video when I'm putting it back together, how annoyed I get. So that's the carbs off. They're very cool looking things. I love, these are motorbike carbs off a Yamaha R1. You see how they work with butterfly valves at the back, letting in the air and then mixing with fuel, and boom, you've got your explosion. So carbs are very simple, they sound good. Only con with these, they drink a lot of fuel. Like, I've worked it out and I think my Golf does about 12 to 15 miles to the gallon, if I'm lucky. So not the best on fuel, but they sound good, they pop, spit flames. What more can a man ask for? So now the carbs are off, let's remove this. There's a throttle cable, which we're going to move that away for a minute. Then now what we want to focus on is labelling up any wiring so we know where exactly it goes when we put it back together, because that's one of the biggest nightmares when you're looking at a wire, especially when they're all wrapped in black and you'd like, where the heck did that go? It could take hours sometimes to work out where a wire went. So the easiest thing to do to save you time is just wrap a little bit of tape around the end with a Sharpie right where it goes, and then when you put it back together, happy days, you should remember where everything is. Right, we've got all of the wiring now off. So there we go, all the wiring is off. It's all dangling down there. So now all we got to do is unbolt all where the mounts are. I've already done the front one down here. Move the clutch line, for instance, where the hydraulic clutch is. And then pivot engine crane on, release the mounts and drop it down. Hopefully that is all we need to do. Right, so we're just going to undo the clutch line. Let's put a little cloth there because there will be a little bit of liquid in there. I'm going to replace this line anyway, so it's not a biggie if I damage it. What concerns me a little bit, hence maybe the issue of the clutch, that is very dry. Hardly anything came out of that, so that might be an issue. Well, it most likely is. If that's completely dry, it's like nothing coming out of it. But there is stuff in the reservoir, so I don't know what's going on there. We'll sort it out another day. Today's job is getting the engine out, so let's just worry about that. Another thing we just got to do is take the linkage off. There you go. Slide them back. Pull rods out, and then them rods are out. Undo them clips. And then tuck them in there. Right, all we've got to do now is undo these bolts here, which are holding the gearbox in. The easiest thing to do is just undo these two, and that will still be attached because we're dropping it downwards, so that's not going to matter too much. So let's just remove these, which I believe are 17s, and I'm obviously going to use the impacts for them. So let me get that all together. So as you can now see, it can rock back and forth due to there being no front mount, and the back is off. So I'm going to give an engine crane linked up to it. Then all we've got to do is undo that bolt and undo that bolt and drop it down, and then lift the car up on the lift, and hopefully we have an engine on a little trolley that I'll put down there, and then we can wheel it out. So let's get the engine crane in place. Let me link all that up. So ideally, gonna have one probably there, and then I've got to work out where to put the other one. Right, so we have it all linked up now. I've already undone this one. So now do this side. This is a scary bit. There's tension on there, tension on there. So let's get behind here and undo this. Technically, nothing's now holding that engine in, but it didn't move at all, which I don't like. Oh, there we go. Right, let's try and balance this a bit better. Right, that is now on the trolley. So technically, let's undo where it's bolted on, take the crane out and lift the car up. Unclick that. Take this out. This away. Keeping an eye, it misses everything. And there we have our engine. So let's lower her back down. And there we have it. An engine bay with no engine. All nice and bare. Wires all hanging down there. So we have a little tidy up so we can move it back. And yeah, so that's the engine out. That's today's job. We'll now have a look at the engine out of the car. You can see they're quite long engines. So we'll be taking the gearbox off. But before I do that, I need to sort out the engine stand because I've got some bits missing on it that I didn't realise. So that'll be for the next video. We'll put it on the engine stand, check out the clutch and everything, see what's going on in there. And yeah, and then obviously I'm going to strip it as well, not like internally but externally, and just give it a nice fresh lick of paint because in some areas it's looking a bit ropey for itself. Especially when this is a show vehicle. I can't have a grubby looking engine, so I'm going to take it all off, spray it all up and give it a nice lick of paint. Thanks again guys for watching this video. I hope this video was okay. I'm learning as I go along. Like last video I noticed a few things I needed to work on, so hopefully every video gets better from now on. And if you have liked it, please like it and please give us a subscribe. That'd help us out loads. And we'll see you on the next video.